Like, where do you draw this line if they just say that all cryptocurrency is banned?
Right. So this is what, see, I see this as a stage one of, the evolution and going towards the right regulation. Stage one is where, any country, if it is at stage one, it's going to say blockchain is good and crypto is bad. Yeah. And that's the narrative, Yeah. The stage two will be where they will say, like blockchain is good. Certain cryptos are probably good. The rest are bad. So I think we are at stage one. I don't know where, I see a few countries at stage two.
Yeah.
But the eventual would be, where they say that this is all technology, you do it the way you want. Just make sure money laundering and terrorism financing and all of these are taken care of. I think that's how it should be. I think it's wrong for countries to even classify what crypto is good, what crypto is bad, because it's all technology in the end.
Yeah. Now, in Australia at the moment, there's a proposed bill to ban cash over $10,000, and they're talking about dropping that down, and it's under the guise of terrorism financing and money laundering. Now, I know in India they recently stopped the high denomination notes, and as you say, they're saying bad crypto, it's competition. Is there any statistics to say that the crime and money laundering and terrorism financing is very minimal in India, because there is that evidence in Australia to prove them wrong? And do you think it is just the competition for their own currency that they're worried about?
Yeah, see, it's a very good question. We haven't been, able to get our hands on any statistics to prove any of these things.
Yeah.
It's more, it's more a feeling that this is how it is. And I would love to get my hands on some statistics in India, but I don't think there's anything publicly available for us to look into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, if you see, the biggest pain point right now being shown about crypto is about, money laundering and financing of terrorism.
Okay.
Though we've been very vocal saying that cash is a better instrument for all of these activities compared to crypto, because at least in crypto you can implement KYCs, you can know where the entry and the exit point of crypto to fiat is, because ultimately these all these nefarious activities need cash to function. So we have our solutions to this, and this is where we need to put it forward to our government, saying that a terrorist or a money launderer would be stupid to use cryptos, because everything is trackable compared to cash, where it's completely offline and nobody would know.
Exactly. I talked to the Australian regulators, and that's my message as well. And it's actually helped them catch some people, because it is a public ledger and it's there forever as well. It's not like you've just got a year to catch them either.
Right.
The next thing I wanted to talk about was the ID system, so KYC and all these rules. I know India has some really interesting ID systems in terms of what they've done compared to other countries. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have something called as Aadhaar, which is like a unified ID. Like throughout the country, everyone has that Aadhaar ID, which can be used for KYC.
Yeah.
The problem with that is when it launched, there was a way for people to authenticate themselves using Aadhaar through APIs, so all the companies could do it. But somewhere down the line, there were these privacy-related issues, and there were problems with data leakage, companies not being responsible enough to keep those data private, because when you authenticate with one product, if the data leaks from there, all your identity information, everything is leaked.
Yeah.
So we are at a situation today where the access to this is given selectively based on what sort of companies are there and what's their background. Are they able to keep the data safe? So it's not very open today for everyone to build. But I think eventually we'll reach a stage where the government will figure out a way to give access to more companies. And that'll be a relief, because then you do not have to do all of this KYC and stuff. Because right now, as a consumer, you have to go to every product, you have to do your KYC all over again. As a company, you have to spend KYC costs, and each company has to spend it individually.
Yeah.
So when this really becomes a reality, where this API-based KYC, I think it'll be an amazing thing for India. And it's on the way, now.
So previous to that, I believe there was like 100 different systems or regions that had their own. It was really messy, and it was the smartphones or just basic phones, and I guess the digital technology that allowed this. So is that the reason for the big improvement? And do you think this is something that could benefit from blockchain and the ID work going on in that space?
Yeah, I think so. If you think about it, what has happened with the Aadhaar system, in a way, it's centralized today, and but it has information. But as a citizen, you really don't control it. So let's say if a similar system existed on the blockchain where you control everything, then you have to decide whether you want to give the information to company A, B, C, or someone else.
Yes.
So I think this can be seen as a precursor to eventual where your data is on a blockchain, but you control it, not like the government has to take care of it or someone else has to take care of it. I think that will be a good progression.
Are you familiar with Vinny Lingham and the work he does at Civic?
So I've heard of Civic, I've heard of Vinny, but I've never spoken. I don't know him personally, but I've heard of this product, the Civic thing.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of doing what we're talking about. And I'm pretty sure he's got some Indian heritage. So, yeah, that's a very interesting project that I'll cover more in future for everyone at home as well. The next thing I want to talk about was the population and the rise of the middle class. So we've kind of seen it in China a little bit. And I know there's some big opportunities for different countries or even continents. So how do you view the Indian economy at the moment? And I know they've got some different beliefs to the West and values and whatnot. So yeah, I'd just love to hear your thoughts about what's happening there.
Yeah, see, I think, in India right now, we have a huge middle class, and it's an ever-growing middle class, and this is where a ton of the purchasing power in the country comes from, because it's a large number. I don't have the number with me right now, but it's a large number and it's ever growing. Every year we are adding millions of people to the middle class. And I think this section of the society is where all the progress will happen. All the companies try to vie for this section of the society. And if you see China, it's very similar, but I would say there's years ahead of us in terms of the size of the middle class, the growth of the middle class, and India is probably going to reach there. It'll take some time.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest differences I see in the behavior of the audience, if you look at China, it has a very different, closed, I would say, new kind of culture where it is not very similar to anywhere else.
Yeah.
But in India, what happens is we use a lot of products which are globally available. For example, like in China, your search engine is very specific to your region, or you have a different version of your own Twitter and Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
But in India, we use everything that's more or less used by people globally. Unless there's an offline component where you have to be in this country to integrate and build it. If it's a purely online product, Indians use the same products as the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Be it your YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, you name a product which is global and which is being used globally, Indians definitely are on that product.
Fantastic.
So I think, so this growth of the middle class of India, I think will benefit the global, I would say the global internet, not just like the local internet, The more people come online, if you look at it, the stocks of Facebook and Amazon as well go up.
Yeah.
It's not just Indian companies that benefit, but it's a global thing for everyone to benefit. So I think it's very motivating to see the Indian middle class adding up and growing, because it adds to the world economy. So that's a good thing, I think.
For sure. I think we forget about the sheer number of people in China, India, throughout Africa and Southeast Asia. And if you were to say that 0.5% of people use Bitcoin in Australia, that's only 100,000 people. But you just threw out the figure of 5 million, which is 0.5% of a billion people. Is that figure got anything, any facts behind it, or?
So the way I see it, and I think I'm probably underreporting that number. I just saw all the app downloads, the products, specifically focus on the Indian audience.
Yes.
And collectively, I think they have around 5 to 7 million. And then, you look at a few of the sources of traffic for a few of the global large exchanges and other products. Then you realize that, X percentage of their audience is from India.
Yeah.
And that's how I back calculated. And I think to be, I would say, very, very upbeat about it, I would say it's probably 7, 8 or 10 million. But I want to be safe, so I'm just saying 5 million. And it's still a good number, I think.
And were the majority of those in the 2017 boom, or is it a little bit different where we've seen things like Venezuela, Chile, Argentina, where there's actually been a bit of an increase recently?
I think 2017 definitely is like the biggest winner.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest motivation for a lot of Indians to get in. But I've seen surprisingly towards the end, the second half of 2018, there have been bumps in the number of people coming into crypto. That's probably because of more awareness being spread in India around what crypto is. But 2017 just takes the cake because you don't have to convince people in 2017. They just came in.
Yeah.
Right now you have to convince them about but that's a good thing right now because it's not like mindless money coming in. It's thought through. People want to first understand what this is, why they're putting their money, and then they come in. So it's a far better audience that's coming in right now, more informed compared to 2017.
So what is the biggest problem that it is going to solve in India? Do you think it is, I talk about the unbanked and they're just going to skip, just like they skip phone lines and go to mobile phones, they're going to skip banking and go to payment systems with cryptocurrency on phone apps. Is that the sort of things that excite you most, to open up the economy and e-commerce and that type of thing?
I think I have quite a few things that excite me about crypto and India because I see the thing is crypto is so I would say so innovative and so new that as an entrepreneur when you think about it you can think of 500 ideas that you could build on. So but if I was to put my finger on a couple of them, I think what you spoke about, the unbanked, that's a major thing. And if you look at history, like you rightly said, including India, we've skipped the PC generation and we've directly onboarded ourselves to mobile phones. And that's how even I think today the first time people go online is probably from a mobile phone, not a computer. And that's probably how a few years down the line we'll say that the first time people are getting access to banking is probably through a mobile phone and crypto. I think that's how this will happen, where a large portion of India will be part of the financial ecosystem through crypto rather than traditional banking.
Yeah.
Because traditional banking needs a lot of infrastructure which has to be present locally. And that's going to be very, very hard to build throughout India. Because we have a country which is massive in terms of the number of villages in India. That's like we've got tens of thousands of villages across the country. And it's hard for banks to be present all of these places. I think the capacity right now, even in the cities, is not completely there yet. They're still building out in the cities, So I think there's going to be this massive. But one of the things that I'm very, very, confident about working out, and I keep telling about this, is access to capital. I think, if you look at, there are quite a few countries where there's a lot of capital available in the market, which is why your cost to capital goes to maybe 1% or 2%. When you take a loan, you pay 2%, 3% or 4%. We pay 10 to 15% in India when we take a loan. And I think that disparity is only because today financial stuff is, I would say, bounded by your geography.
Yes, 100%.
You're in Australia, you have a different financial system. We are in India, we have a different financial system. But that's not the case with
registration verification email from WazirX. Click on it to verify your registration. Log into your newly created WazirX account. The next step is to complete the KYC. Start by adding your bank account details. This is where you will also receive money when you decide to sell your Bitcoin. You need to add your bank account, UPI, and if you like, you can also add Paytm account details. The bank account should belong to the same person/organization operating this WazirX account. You may only add one bank account. Click on Next. In the next step, you need to update your documents for the KYC. Here are the documents that are required. Copy of PAN card, your photo, address proof, Aadhaar card showing address or driving license or passport page showing address, passport page/Aadhaar card showing photo. In my case, I used my passport plus my PAN card to verify my account. This KYC verification